Hello and welcome to RS Agarwal's IAS. In this video of the Daily News Express, let us discuss the important topics appearing in the Hindu newspaper dated 2nd November 2020. Let us start. Well, the first article caters to the gig workers or the platform workers of the Indian economy, which caters to GS paper 3 from your mains examination point of view. Well, if we talk about this article, it majorly speaks of the platform workers and how their definition and underpinnings exist in the code on social security. If you remember, in the recent Lok Sabha, the labor codes were passed by the parliament, and one among them was the Social Security Code of 2020, which was a part of the labor codes, one of the three. So, if you talk about the platform workers here, the author says the definition first you have to pay attention to, where the platform workers means a work arrangement outside of traditional employer-employee relationship in which organizations or individuals use an online platform to access other organizations or individuals to solve specific problem or to provide specific services or any such other activities which may be notified by the central government in exchange for the payment. Now, the author says this definition of platform workers is okay, but the problem lies in how this definition or this code does not separate platform workers from gig workers or from unorganized workers. Now, platform workers have some sort of relation with the gig workers, but not a lot of relations with unorganized. It's two completely different things. And due to this not delineating nature of the labor codes, it becomes problematic for the platform workers to achieve some kind of security or job security which they were aiming for through this social security code book. Now, if you talk about this code, it says it is a code which takes into account three people to provide security to the workers or to provide welfare to the workers. First is the central government, second is the aggregators or the people who are there, and third are workers. But since there is no kind of specificity and there is no kind of clarity about who is doing what, and these three things, that is platform workers, gig workers and unorganized workers, are being mixed up, the effort will not be seen, or the kind of clarity in how the work should be divided also will not be seen. The author says that a tripartite effort is needed, and this should be provided through the code on social security. Now, the author talks about some kind of workers who are there. Let's say platform workers. Let's take the example of online delivery partners or taxi services like Uber, Ola, etc. Now, here it says that the ostensible preference for employment status stems from the fact that while platform work promises flexibility and ownership delivery of work, they are still largely dictated by the controlled wired by the algorithm. Now, what this means is some online platforms, online delivery platforms or taxi services uh, need some kind of extra from the workers. That means they will be needing, let's say, a vehicle for them to drive around, or it can be provided by the online platforms itself. So this kind of clarity is needed about if they bring the vehicles. Let's say if the workers bring the vehicles, how will they be delineated from others? And if these people provide the vehicles, how will they be delineated from others? And this should not be done in respect to formal or informal. This should be done keeping in mind platform workers as the major agenda. Now, the article says, thus, to enter the platform economy, workers rely on intensive loan schemes to buy these vehicles, right? So they will rely on intensive loan schemes, which will be facilitated by these aggregator companies. But what more? How will they? How will they provide the EMIs, as we call it, or will they just provide them salaries? This results in dependence of platform companies driven by financial obligations, thus rendering flexibility and ownership moot in short to middle term investment cycles as well. So these are the various things that the article brings into picture, and this speaks about how this social security code had to be more clear, had to be more had to have more brevity with regards to explaining the difference between these key kind of workers, especially the platform workers. Now, the platform workers play a very important role, and during the pandemic also their role was significantly seen as they had to cater to a lot of things. And if you talk about delivery, especially delivery, their role came out in the open very much, as they had to provide essentials like groceries, medicines, etc. So it is imminent that they need to be protected and they need to be provided some kind of social security. They have also been responsible for keeping these platform companies, like the online delivery platform companies, afloat, because if these people don't work on the ground level, the whole idea of the company is defeated. Hence, these people need to be provided a socio-legal awareness, socio-legal protection, etc., so that not just these workers also survive, which they will eventually, but the companies also survive, which will in turn push the Indian economy as such. Well, this is clear. That's it. This small little article talks about, and we have to be aware that the platform workers are also a kind of very important workers. You can give examples of online delivery companies like Dunzo, Swiggy, etc. And yeah, let's move on to the next topic. In this topic, we're talking about India's foreign policy, and this is with regards to GS paper 2, international relations. The author in this article speaks about how India's foreign policy has completely overhauled after the 2+2 summit that India had with USA. This was the third ever summit, and we have it on an annual basis, but this summit that happened in 2020 had a lot of key importance for India-US relations. First, let us see what are the basics thing that happened. First, here China was condemned, and this was like the elephant in the room actually, that we were all waiting for US to talk about, and US said what China has done is irrational. And then we signed the BECA, that is the Basic Exchange Cooperation Agreement, which provided us the geospatial information or data for all the that will be provided to us by the USA. And this has made us one of those selected countries that has access to USA's geospatial data as such, and one of those special category of nations. Apart from that, we are having select military to military cooperation, communication, and so many such things. And this has also made us one of those countries that have signed all four foundational military agreements with USA, like LEMOA, JESMOIA as you call it. So these are all the agreement, that is the Logistic Exchange Memorandum of Agreement, that is General Security Memorandum of Agreement, and this is BECA. Now these are the key things that happened in this 2+2 summit, and this has forged a very strong relationship with USA, and this has made way for a lot of things to happen in the future. But the author is of the opinion that all these things are great, all these things will work out for India, but we will have a price to pay. As in, we will not have a lot to lose, we are not losing anything, but there are a few things that we also need to alter, since we have tried to overhaul these things. So let us see what are those things. The author speaks about several things. First, we have to understand that India is not strategically autonomous anymore. Initially or always, we have claimed the fact that we were a strategically autonomous nation, and we have not shared any kind of great immense level of friendship or allied towards any other nation, but we have remained strategically autonomous. And secondly, India has claimed that we have been equidistant with all power bloc, be it USA or Russia or anyone. We have maintained equidistance, but this 2+2 summit has made this claim a little hollow, because we have made immense progress with USA now, and we are very good friends now, since we have signed all four of them. And if you talk about BECA, please understand that only USA will not be sharing information to India, but India will also share information to USA. So here we are also providing our information to USA, and this again defeats the idea of strategic autonomy. But what is the point here is about China. As China has grown too much, as China's hegemony is growing to another level, this is a very important move, as this was like an anti-China coalition that we formed. And this was also a part of the Quad, or Quad is a part of this, which is an anti-China coalition that we have formed to curb the Chinese influence across the world, specifically in regions like Indo-Pacific, South China Sea, etc. The author is of the opinion that even though we have had tough relations with China, we would sum it up, or we would somehow curb it through having informal summits like the Mamalapuram summit, etc. But now it is sure that our relations with China are gonna exacerbate, are going to be worsened due to our relations with USA, because China is also not good friends with USA. They are also having their troubled relationship with USA. Now this is the major idea, but what is the other things that India is supposed to do here? Now, India is supposed to balance its diplomacy in not one region but so many other regions. India is supposed to balance its diplomacy. Now, which are those regions? First, let's understand. First is neighbors. Now, these neighbors include Maldives and Sri Lanka, where USA has gone and has friends with them also. So we have to make sure that these neighbors are staying close to us and not moving too much towards USA, because tomorrow anything can happen. So not just this, Bangladesh, Nepal, and these nations have to be kept with us in a more friendly manner. First, India has to balance its diplomacy in the neighborhood. Then it has to speak about the West Asia or the Gulf region, where recently the Abraham Accords were signed, and a lot of things can happen over there with Israel and UAE coming together and Sunni Shia problems existing, and people like Pakistan, Iran having their own ideas, or Turkey joining this anti-Israel kind of a coalition. So India has to balance its diplomacy here also. And third, we can talk about Afghanistan, where USA has quit or USA has pulled out of its troops. And here, China and Pakistan are playing a very, very important role. And China is moving towards Iran, which is our very good friend and is our only outreach to uh, Afghanistan. Now, Iran is not great friends with USA, right? So, Iran has a lot of problems with USA. And if Iran takes into cognizance how India has become great friends with USA, Iran will pose a threat and can potentially block our outreach to Afghanistan, because, as you know, if we do not have POK, we have only Iran through which we can reach Afghanistan. Apart from Afghanistan, we can talk about SCO, or the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is predominantly a anti-NATO organization, if you would like to call it anti-NATO. This was kind of formed to like curb the growth or the autonomy or the greatness of so-called USA. But now India, which is a very, very integral part of SCO, has moved towards USA or NATO, and countries which are an important part of this organization like China or Russia will not be in great terms with India as well. Apart from this, you can talk about NAM, or the non-aligned movement that India has pretty much found out or pretty much established on its own. Now, since India has moved towards a power bloc, that is USA, the whole idea of NAM will be pretty much defeated, because India is pledging its fidelity towards USA and providing information also to USA. So NAM also needs to be revitalized, or will it be even existing is a quite an important question to ask. Last but not the least, or the most important, Russia. Russia is a very, very good friend of USA and of India, and has stood the test of time. And we have had great relations with Russia, be it the Far East Summit, be it exchange of information or defense equipments, so on and so forth. Russia has been a very good friend, but the only thing Russia does not like is USA. And now, since we are signing defense with USA, Russia and our defense will also be at crossroads, because we will be providing information to USA. So we have to see how we will balance this out with Russia and not uh, kind of get stuck in a quagmire, which will cause more and more problems for India's diplomacy, where we can't be friends with one nation and afford to have problematic relations with other nations. So this is a new change in foreign policy, hence the title, The Shifting Trajectory of India's Foreign Policy. And New Delhi's diplomatic skills will be tested now that the country is effectively a part of US security architecture. So we have to play a very important role in the world, and because USA will not help us out in all aspects, sometimes we need Russia also, sometimes we need Iran also. So yeah, let us see how things will pan out for us in the future. Currently the world is battling the pandemic, and if that curbs down, the world will return to normalcy. So talking about the pandemic, let us move on to the next article. Well, it's the editorial that caters to GS paper 2, talks about COVID-19. So if you talk about COVID-19, we have seen that the occurrence of cases on a daily basis has reduced now. So at one point we were reporting around 70,000 cases on a daily basis. It's gone down to 50,000 or so, and this is a good sign for us, because the numbers have reduced, but the testing has not. So we are testing at the same rate. You're testing at the same rate, but the cases have reduced. That's a good sign for us. And this is also in predominant areas like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, where cases were so high, and they were number one states as well. Now the author says that this is the scenario and this can be reduced and this will go on to become a better picture. But the problem lies in rural areas, as urban areas are capable enough of fighting this issue, and they have done their own jugards, if you want to call it. They have done their own innovations, if you would like to call it. But rural areas will be affected because they have not sufficiently invested in primary healthcare, and healthcare infrastructure and personnel are less and comparatively weaker in these areas. Hence, it will be a problematic situation for India to for rural India to fight this pandemic there. But what the author says is that uh, this can be just a blip. The whole dip in the number of cases can be just a blip, and we can see another curve, or we can see another wave that can soon come post winter or during the winter, because festive season the people have completely forgotten about what is COVID-19 and what is the idea of social distancing or not coming out of the house. So it's quite ironic, as when cases were just 1,000 and 3,000, we were so cautious, we were so careful, and now we are reporting 50,000 cases on a daily basis. Even then we are getting out of the house for no reason, and we're taking it so light. So the author says all these things can happen, there can be another surge in cases, but what we have to do is we have not be complacent. We cannot be complacent, and we have to follow all the measures that have been taken, like social distancing, physical distancing as we call it, and then mask, sanitation, hygiene. The thing here is that the government has started the unlock phases, and time by time everything is opening. Now the theaters have opened, the commercial places like malls have opened. Recently the racing, the horse racing that takes place in important cities have also opened. All these things are opening. Even schools and colleges are planning to be reopened in several places across the country. So this gives a lot of chance for another surge to take place, and we have seen bigger countries like France, UK and Germany have again gone under a lockdown because of increase in the number of cases. So let us hope we don't see another surge, and we do our best to stay at home, wear a mask, and if you go out, wear a mask, and then maintain social distance. Well, that's it about this article. Let us move on to the next. Here we are talking about some statistical data which portrays very important things with regards to health in India. So if you see here, uh, this talks about expenditure, that is the percentage of GDP on health that India spends. So if you see, or the world spends, if you see, India spends 3.5% of its GDP on healthcare, which is similar to most SAARC or ASEAN nations, but it is very, very less in comparison to BRICS nations. Let me just clear it out. So 3.5% of GDP on healthcare, similar to SAARC and ASEAN, but lower than BRICS nations. So this becomes quite an important thing. So let us see here. So you see the percentage rate, India spends 3.5%. If you see USA in the same manner, it is more than 16%, right? If you see other countries, Pakistan is also similar lines, Bangladesh is also similar lines. But if you see Brazil spends 8.5%. If you see same countries, Japan is spending over 12%, and there is France spending over 12%, Germany spending over 12%. It's great, right? So we have to strive to reach at this level, at least the level of Japan or Brazil. But if you look at in detail, you find out that the out of pocket expenditure is pretty high in India. If you see the red color lines, this is the out of pocket expenditure which is high in India. If you see comparison to other countries, it's pretty less. Is in Spain it looks a little high, so it does in Brazil and all these nations. But if you see here, if you see in South Africa, the out of pocket expenditure is too less. And if you talk about government schemes also, India's government schemes are at a very low standard. If you compare it with countries like Brazil, USA, Canada, if you look at these countries where most of the graph is comprising of government schemes, right? And again, there are other schemes which are compulsory contributory health insurance schemes, which are nowhere to be found in India, but have a very important role in USA, have an important role in Japan. And voluntary healthcare schemes again are very hardly found, but in Brazil you can find them, right? So this is the kind of expenditure that India is doing. And India, considering its size of its economy, size of its population, should at least spend more than 10% of its GDP on health to have a better healthcare setup. Now, if you go a little down, you will see out of pocket expenditure. Now, these states on the right side, which are in red color, These states on the top right, shaded red, spend relatively less on healthcare. They spend less on healthcare, and a higher share is paid out of pocket by the patients, that is from their own pocket, and the government spends less. These include Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Odisha. And if you see here, the states on the bottom, that is on the left shaded green, they spend more on healthcare, uh, and the government pays relatively higher share of it, that is Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Himachal Pradesh. So this is the kind of scenario, and these states are in the moderate level, Kerala, Punjab, and Andhra Pradesh. But here the government spends very less. So if you see the graph here, this is the percentage of GDP, and this is the per capita expenditure on health. If you see here, average is 4,300, and here if you see, it is marking to 2,000 or 2,000 rupees, like that. If you see here, they are spending to uh, 4,500, 5,000, and they're spending way good, and so on and so forth. So if you go on to the private versus public expenditure, what is happening here is the states on the top right, these states rely more on private hospitals, and hospitalization costs are higher than average. But the states on the bottom left rely less on private hospitals and healthcare, and they are more affordable. So if you see, this is the percentage of hospitals and hospitalization cases, and this is the average medical expenditure in a private hospital as a percentage of GDP. So here UP, Bihar, Punjab are way in the lesser portion, and here these states like Himachal Pradesh, Goa, Tamil Nadu are in the better portion. So this is the scenario of health in the country, and if we relatively spend at least 10% of its GDP, of our GDP on health, we will have a lot of better expenditure, and we have to focus on this issue, that is out of pocket expenditure. We have to try to reduce it so that people don't spend out of pocket too much, and we don't have to rely on private also, because private charges in exorbitant prices and various irrational things. So people should rely on public healthcare, and we have to better it in a stronger manner. Let us move on to the next. Here we are talking about defense technology for prelims, and we are talking about Rafale jets. India has ordered Rafale jets from France. So by the end of 2021, we will get our 36 Rafale jets. Now we have received first batch 5. Now 3 are coming. We will receive all of them by end of 2021. So let us learn a little bit important facts about Rafale. Rafale is a twin engine multi-role combat aircraft. It's a twin engine multi-role combat aircraft. It is developed by French aviation company called as Dassault. It is developed by a French company called as Dassault. That's why we have got this from France. If you remember, a few years ago we had got Sukhoi jets. Sukhoi jets from which country? Write to me in the comment section, from which country did we buy the Sukhoi jets almost 20 years ago, and now we have the Rafale jets. The top speed of Rafale jets is 2,223 kilometers per hour, very fast, because they are fighter jets of course, and they weigh up to 24,500 kilograms, and their range is 3,700 kilometers. They can carry a weight of up to 9,500 kgs. That is the load they can carry of up to 9,500 kgs. So they have various amazing technology or various capabilities, like they have aerial reconnaissance technology, they have the in-depth strikes, they have interception technology, and they have nuclear deterrence as well. So they can be fitted with several missiles that can be used to hit targets which are kilometers away. They are that is the air-to-air technology we can use in them. That is the air-to-air targets. So this is a very important fighter jet for India, and has a strong capacity to serve the Indian Air Force. And this will help us to propel our air supremacy. This will help us to propel our air supremacy, and various kind of missiles, various kind of weapons can be fitted in them. And the most important thing that is spoken about was the BVRAAM that could be fitted. That is beyond visual range air-to-air missile that could be fitted, that can be launched from air to air. That is, the Meteor missile can target an enemy away 150 kilometers away also. This is a very strong capability. And some other cruise missiles are there that can be fitted and can target enemy at 300 kilometers as well. So they have a long flight hour, like I told you, and hence they are a very strong and a very important point of our Indian Air Force. And if you talk about if you talk more about the Rafael, let us understand that these are a very, very important landmark in the India-France relationship. They are a very important landmark in the India-France relationship, and France has a lot of support to us in the Indian Ocean region and also in the Indo-Pacific region. Apart from that, we can talk about the countries that have taken this jet from France, and India is the fourth country to take this from France. Apart from countries like France itself, and you have the Egypt, Qatar, and such countries. Of course, Indian relations with France have been great before also, but then after this, India became the fourth country to have these jets with them. These are the Rafale aircrafts, and a lot of people are saying that these are game changers in our air capabilities with regards to our enemies like Pakistan and China. And after 36 jets have come down, we will be very, very powerful. And they have also been compared to the US aircraft called F-35 and also F-22. So they have been compared to this aircrafts, and they have said that this will be a very, very important milestone for India. So many things you can make a note of about Rafale, and they can be asked in your prelims exam, and you can add them in your mains answer as well. Let us move on to the next topic and the last topic of the day. Again, today we are talking about Kaziranga. We have spoken about it previously. What we need to know about Kaziranga is it's a national park. Also, it's a tiger reserve located in Assam and on the flood plain or the valley floodplain of Brahmaputra River, right? On the valley floodplain of the Brahmaputra River. It was declared a national park in the year 1974 and a tiger reserve in 2007. It is also a World Heritage Site, a Natural World Heritage Site of UNESCO, declared in the year 1985. It is also an important bird area declared by BirdLife International. It is home to several important species or fauna like the one-horned rhinoceros, there is elephant, there is Royal Bengal tiger, and there is Asiatic wild buffalo. These four together are also called as the Big Four. The Big Four are found in the Kaziranga National Park, and Kaziranga approximately has more than 2000 rhinos, that is one-horned rhinos in India. Also, there are several number of tigers found in Kaziranga, that is estimated to around 103 tigers that have been found in Kaziranga. Well, we can also talk about how Kaziranga has a lot of primates, that is a monkey species, which can be predominantly the golden langur found in Assam. We have to know that the Brahmaputra river is located very close to the tributaries of Brahmaputra river located very close to Kaziranga, and several times it is floods also causing the death of several animals. National Highway 37 passes through Kaziranga. Well, these are the things you need to know about this important national park for the country. If you talk about Assam, apart from Kaziranga, you have the Manas National Park, you have the Dibru-Saikhowa National Park, you have the Nameri National Park, and you have the Orang National Park. So all these national parks are located in Assam, and that's it for today's DNE. Hope you enjoyed today's session. Write to me in the comment section if you have any doubts or any questions. Until next time, take care, stay safe, bye bye.